Hello, welcome to this webinar that we bring to you in this macroeconomic climate where business is considering digitization of services. Cloud migration comes up with an essential to serve the benefit of scalability, cost saving, and agility. Hello, everyone. I'm Navomita. I'm the founder of Navomita.com. I am here to present you to this session wherein we are going to discuss different areas of the business which is impacted by the cloud migration. We will hear it from the leaders who have done it, who have seen the profit out of it. But before that, I invite Manish Garg to introduce VE3. Hello, Manish. Welcome.
Hello, Navita. Thanks, Navita. Hello, everyone. Pleased to be here. So I'm here to talk about V3, the sponsor of this webinar. So V3 is a global technology company providing digital solutions that help businesses unlock their full potentials. We work with our clients to help them in terms of their new journeys or migration to the cloud. And we have years of experience in technologies like cloud, DevOps, and AI. The cloud services start from infrastructure and goes all the way to platform, covering from migration to disaster recovery or from cybersecurity to EKS implementation or container-based implementation. We work with some of the top public cloud partners, starting from AWS to Azure to Salesforce and Oracle. So we have our cloud expertise start from cloud consultation. It goes from consultation to app to migration and then all the way to cloud maintenance support. How we differentiate ourselves? Because we work with across industries and we have worked with the top clients, and that makes us different. So we have a proven track record and global delivery network, and we have a strong partner ecosystem as I just talked about, and we have a deep industry expertise. That makes us different in terms of how we deliver our services, how we work with our clients, how we help them to innovate and also to maintain. And one of our top partners is AWS. Most of our clients actually prefer to start our journey with AWS and start the cloud journey with AWS in terms of the native cloud development or to migration to the cloud. We provide depth and breadth of AWS services, starting from managed services to application development to security, artificial intelligence to database and modernizations. And not just that, we also help our client to optimize their cloud deployments, to monitor and to put all kinds of compliance and security services, and to help them maintain and support, maintain and manage the system as they migrate and as they move to the cloud. Main question that comes to your mind: why choose V3? So it's a dedicated team that we provide, and we provide actually multiple deployment approaches from multi-cloud to hybrid cloud, as well as the native cloud deployments. And we have an on-time delivery and seamless communications. And of course, we provide competitive pricing. So thank you all. That was just a brief intro. I'll hand it over back to Navamita to take the panel forward.
Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. Before we move on with the discussion, yes, I would be shortly introducing you to our speakers. But just to tell you, in this webinar, we are going to simplify the cloud migration journey specifically for the small and the medium-sized businesses that have limited financial resources. Honestly, yes, the requirement must be there. However, the choice comes for the leaders whether to invest in the growth or the expansion. With the current inflationary pressures, the webinar provides a strategic plan of action towards the commitment-free approach that helps the business migrate to the cloud and optimize the cloud spending. So without a single word beyond this, may I first introduce our speaker, Krishna from K Capital. Krishna, I would be requesting your personal introduction, but I would also want to introduce our other speakers, Sabyasachi Mohapatra, CFO, ITP Arrow, and Siddhesh, the man of the hour, without whom the entire cloud discussion would not be complete. Siddhesh, thank you so much for joining us. All our three leaders are joining us from three different places, talking about the same problem solution from three different angles. So before we move on to their questions, Krishna, may I request you to introduce yourself and share a little about your journey.
Thanks, Navomita. It is good to be here with all of you. A little about myself. I have close to 2 decades of experience in the tech space. I started my career as a programmer in early 2000s, and for the past 12 years, I've been investing in early stage tech startups. When I joined the investment industry in 2011, the industry ecosystem was still nascent. I have invested or managed investments in both pure tech place, such as MapMyIndia, ClearTrip, Paymate, Imbibe, etc., across industries, travel, payments, edtech, and so on, or tech-enabled but offline businesses like Rebel Foods in the food tech space and Furlenco in the furniture space. At present, I am a partner at K Capital, which is a pioneer in early stage investing in India. We invest in tech-enabled businesses from pre-seed to pre-A rounds across consumer internet, B2B commerce, SaaS, D2C brands, and so on. And some of the notable investments include 1MG and HealthCard on the consumer tech side, Porter in the B2B logistics side, and Zetwork in B2B commerce side. So that's about us. Good to be here, and over to you, Nabomita.
Thank you so much, Krishna. We would definitely have a lot more questions for you, but before that, may I request Sabyasachi to join in and introduce himself before we take the discussion ahead. Over to you, Sabyasachi.
Thank you, Navomita, and thank you, V3, for having me as a part of this esteemed panel and giving me a platform to share our IT journey as an organization. So, just for the people, I am Sabyasachi, and I'm a finance professional with almost 2 decades of experience, primarily in the manufacturing sector, having worked with large multinationals as well as startups, and seen guided the company, having guided the company through the IT transformation journeys that they have gone through. So I am currently working as the CFO of ITP Aero India. ITP Aero is the 9th largest aircraft engines and components manufacturing company in the world. It has its geographical presence in spread over 4 continents, employing around a little more than 5,000 employees, and working primarily in the defense as well as the civil aviation space. Coming to the civil aviation, we control more than, or we have supplied more than 50% of the aircraft engines to the double aisle aircraft. Our primary business in this is in the civil aviation, as well. 70% of our business comes from the civil aviation, and 30% is in the defense and the MRO space. So I am responsible for managing, not only managing the finance and accounts, which obviously is my core function in ITP Aero, but I am also responsible for managing all the support services for the operations in India. That's a little bit about myself. Let's see how the discussion moves forward.
Sabyasachi, thank you so much. You are the leader from whom we will look forward to hear how the cloud migration is done, irrespective of every challenge. Most of our business owners who would be listening to us, to our discussion, they might be in that part of the journey wherein they are stuck in that bottleneck. So very soon we will be asking you that question and trying to understand from your journey how they can be helped. So before that, may I request Siddhesh to join in. Hello, Siddhesh.
Hey, Navamita, hi.
Thank you so much for joining us. Please introduce yourself and do share a little about your journey.
Definitely. Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you, V3, for giving me this opportunity to share this hour with Krishna Sabyasachi. Well, my name is Siddhesh Keluskar, and in my current role, I head solutions architects for AWS India, especially for small and medium businesses. So what we do in our day-to-day job is help businesses like yourself to build highly scalable, performant, and cost optimized architectures. Call it architectures, call it solutions, applications, whatever you want. Solve your business problems leveraging AWS and cloud technologies. So that's what we do. And before joining Amazon, I was working as a founder CTO for a security IoT startup, OpenApp, based out of in Bangalore, where I used to build GPS, GSM, Bluetooth, and Wi-Fi based security locks, smart locks, security solutions for supply chain, finance, and such businesses. Well, so very excited to share the podium with all you, and looking forward for the next hour of insightful discussions.
Thank you so much, Siddhesh. Absolutely, you are that part of the discussion wherein the readers who are listening to won't have the complete knowledge without knowing how to go about it. So yes, we would be soon back to you with more questions. But first to Krishna. Krishna, first and very first question to you is all about, yes, since we know about the background and the history of the kind of investment that has already been done by K Capital, my first question to you is all about the cloud adoption. How does it impact the startup ecosystem, both in terms of the hyper adopters and the adopters who are in that journey to still get over the bottlenecks? And of course, does that impact the decision making in investing as well? So over to you.
Sure. I'll give a perspective from our investments, and I think one of the biggest benefactor of cloud has been the startup ecosystem, without a doubt, right? So in fact, all the companies that have been born right now are directly born cloud. And if you look at it, even the seminar that is happening right now is happening on the cloud as well. The webinar we are connecting, all of us connecting to. So what were there are tremendous benefits from the cloud adoption, right? First one is it has democratized tech access and entrepreneurship for anyone. Someone sitting on the border of India, two people can be sitting in one room and leverage the tech capabilities of the cloud, can launch an consumer app or a SaaS solution or something like that without bothering too much of putting things together, the infrastructure and the large teams that are required, right? So now anyone can actually jump into this. That's a great thing for us. And the second thing that it has done is that the risk to reward ratio has gone more towards the rewards. And I will explain why, right? I have been in this tech ecosystem for about 20 years now as a programmer, and I've seen the on-prem solutions also, where you would require a lot of infrastructure to be put together, a lot of teams to actually manage the infrastructure, and there's downtime for maintenance and so on, right? So what has the cloud, how has cloud helped us now is to, now the team sizes can be pretty small and only those that work on the solution instead of worrying about all these infra, the capex and all those things. Second thing is, if you want to experiment something out by leveraging the existing infrastructure, the time has shrunk for the experiments as well. Now what you have been able to do in a 1-year plan, now you can do in like a very small amount duration of time, right? And the third one is because you don't have to invest in large teams and capex to try something out. The amount of capital that is required for someone to start offering a value proposition, right, and test it out in the market is small. So what happens then the founders and all the tech who are entrepreneurs come and they raise a very small amount of money to try out some value proposition with limited amount of resources, right? And in very less time, you don't need to spend like 2 years of your life to try something out and then figure out it's not working. You do not have a product market fit, or you do not have as much wider customer acceptance, etc. Right? You can figure out things much quicker, which is pretty good for us. And when we look at the founders that we look to invest, we want those people who can actually figure out some of these things and see how they can launch in a faster manner, not reinvent the wheel that has already, the solutions are already out there on the cloud. You just take them and only offer one layer of your application or solution on top of that and go and test it out in the market. As I said before, and that's the key for successful startups.
Thank you so much, Krishna. Yes, absolutely. I mean, just as you said, the cloud makes business possible, and this webinar is a good example of it because we have Manish from UK, most of us from India, but different parts. I mean, almost none of us are in the same city, and yet we do have this session right now. So yeah, and every startup is almost born on cloud. All my products have always been on cloud. So thank you so much for giving that important input. And with that, we move on to, may I request Sabyasachi to join us for the next question. And the next question is the hard-hitting one. Sabyasachi, every company or who really needs to, or rather wants to, or have to consider go into this cloud migration journey gets a bottleneck, which is the budget. Every company has to confirm that it is going to be profitable in the, not just in the long run, but make sense in the short term too. You have made it possible. You are, being a CEO, it's the right person. I believe the one to authorize to speak on this journey. Please share so that our business leaders who are listening to this, who are probably considering or even considered but probably not started the journey entirely because of the budgeting issue, How do you troubleshoot it? How have you made your journey possible and made it so big and successful? So yes, Sabyasachi, entirely. I mean, we are looking forward to you here on that.
Thank you, Navamita. Very important question. First of all, am I the most competent person to be talking about it? Probably no. But do I understand the monetary implications? Yes, I do, which is very important, and that is why we are looking into this. We, in fact, are talking about this seminar. One point that I would like to make when we are talking about a migration to the cloud, and especially I would talk about two levels of, or rather, I would talk about startups which are actually born on cloud, so it's a no-brainer for them. Then there is another set of organizations who already have their on-prem setup completely there, and they are still migrating, and these are organizations like ours. Before getting into what are the, how do we do the budgeting, what are the cost implications, let me just give you a background of what our IT systems were, what is the setup that we had, and where are we going as an organization, and then probably we'll talk a little more about it. ITP is a 35-year-old manufacturing giant. You would probably understand that we have set up our own data centers or on-premises, entire on-premises setup with a huge team of IT experts who have been working on deployment of softwares, various, not only the ERPs, but there are various other softwares which we use, and all of them have been implemented on premise. It obviously is a very difficult decision because your capital cost is already, it is like a sunk cost. So it is always a very difficult decision to look at the cost benefit analysis when we are looking at a migration from to the cloud. Then it also boils down to the comfort level on the security aspect of cloud, which my IT team or my CIO would have when we are selecting the cloud, or when we are looking at migrating cloud on a step-by-step manner. We currently have we are currently operating on a hybrid model where we have migrated some of our applications, some of our softwares already to the cloud, and some we are holding back. There are various reasons, and we can talk about it in the webinar as we move forward. But I would, when we are talking about the cost, it's a very complicated costing structure that we are looking at. Each organization is different. Each organization has its own sets of data on the and it all depends on the volume of data that you are generating, and the costing would come down to that part. It is when we are talking about migrating from an on-premises to this. So to each it's his own. What can be done about it is we should certainly, when I'm talking to entrepreneurs or people who are there on the store who already have a setup of on-premises, should they migrate to cloud? It has to be evaluated. The evaluation has to be done on various factors, which would require experts. And I think that is where V3 can come in and guide organizations whether it is suitable or what amount of migration is suitable. Do we run a hybrid model? Do we run on SaaS models? So there are various permutation combinations, and each one has to be evaluated on its own, depending on the volume of transactions, depending on the confidentiality of the information. So it depends. So I would sincerely request or sincerely advise organizations to evaluate their as their own company as a standalone case, take the help of experts, and then take a decision on the migration.
Seriously, Sabyasachi, honestly, when you started talking, I literally went with you in that journey. The way you have broken it down sounds very simplified, because you literally took one area and you spoke about it. To any business owner, it definitely comes as a one big decision, one big budgeting decision, which is why they are often, prompted to say a no, even without considering each segment, wherein the way you explained that you have partly migrated certain areas and you are holding back certain more other areas. This kind of mentoring is priceless. I since I work with a lot of SMEs, I honestly value this point you sharing it from your live experience. Thank you, Sabyasachi. And with that, may I request Siddhesh to join in, because this particular points, the points from Sabyasachi is exact. I would rather say that those are the exact. He put it in from the solution perspective. But if when you are talking to a new business owner who had not migrated their business, it comes from a very different perspective. The same situation could be very problematic, very challenging in that kind of a scenario. Siddhesh, my question to you is: we all understand how important it is in terms of agility, in terms of building up the scalability. How do you, as a leader from AWS, suggest a solution? From the other side of the table. To be very honest, yes, our leaders who are listening to will listen to Sabyasachi as a part of their own team, and you definitely is the person whom they need to interact in future. So over to you, and looking forward to hear on that.
Absolutely. So yeah, I've been actually waiting to unmute myself the minute Sabyasachi said it's a complex and very expensive process. But yeah, I have been patient. So let me just give you a perspective on that, right? So the decision to move to cloud, especially for startups, is pretty straightforward, as Sabyasachi already mentioned. Krishna also iterated on that, right? You don't have the overhead of maintaining infrastructure, security, physical and cyber, right? Maintaining the backups, maintaining the physical air conditioning, cooling, power, all of that is gone. Of maintaining your own data center, or even hosting your applications on co-location. For startups, it's quite lean approach, less effort, high impact, right? You get all the tools and levers you want to innovate on, and you can leverage your attention and efforts on building the business rather than reinventing the wheel. So startups is a straightforward path, especially for the small and medium businesses, companies like ITP who have been operating for more than 3 decades, where you already have a legacy infrastructure. And we get many customers who have their applications which are 20-year-old, which are 30-year-old, even from the operating systems and type of mainframes, which in the cloud world also do not exist, right? The old legacy end of life hardware, end of life software. So here is what I would suggest all the leaders, all the decision makers to do. Like, evaluate this process of migration as a journey. It's not a one big bang step that you take and in 6 months you're on modernized architectures, on 6 months you're 1 year's time you are on fully digital native or fully cloud native. That may not be the best expectations, right? Break down the problem into what exactly you're looking forward to, the vision of your company, the product roadmap, the business mission, right? Typically, we have seen customers adopt cloud for agility, right? Let me give you an example of agility. Couple of years ago, we all saw what COVID did. There were some businesses which were impacted in a way that they had to reduce their operations drastically, right? For example, travel, hospitality, their applications, their operations scaled down. On the other side, there were some businesses which saw a rapid scale up. For example, media and entertainment. Everybody was sitting at home consuming media. Education. Everybody was going online, talking online. Both of these CTOs, both of these CFOs had to take those decisions much fast. How to scale? One had to take a decision how to scale up their infrastructure. Another one had to take up a decision how to scale down their infrastructure. Now, only the businesses which were in cloud had that capability to scale up and down, right? So this is the number one advantage which cloud adds. It helps you de-risk your business, right? So the scalability that as the business conditions change, as the economic conditions change, you are having that horsepower to scale up and scale down, and you are not bottled up by the infrastructure. That's the number one advantage. The number two advantage, which even Krishna mentioned, is running your experiments, right? Everybody is now experimenting either with AI/ML, or with analytics or with data. ChatGPT, crypto, NFT, these are such common words nowadays. We hear so much on social media, we hear so much in news as if they were Word, Excel, PowerPoint, right? We don't even bother to look at that these are really complex statistical and research problems, or rather research topics. Right? ChatGPT is a large learning model trained on billions of data points. We don't have to get into complexities of that. All we have to do is just sign up on ChatGPT, ask questions, and get results. We all are doing that for whatever. I did that for even intro for this, right? So multiple ways to experiment, multiple ways to leverage technology. So cloud and AWS helps you to run these experiments at low cost faster. If the experiment is successful, you can leverage that and build on the scalability. If for whatever reason the experiment is not successful, you can pivot. You can make those changes, make those pivots, and try it again. If for whatever reason you want to scrap the project, you can still do that, fail fast, and be very agile. And that gives you a significant edge over the competition. Nowadays, what even your end consumers will demand is how more features you can give, what faster features, what secure features that you can give to your customers. And so are your competitors. They are also working on the same thing. So cloud helps you with experimenting faster, being fast on innovation. And the technology barriers are significantly low. Right now, to start with analytics, to start with AI/ML, you do not need to invest on a full-scale data scientist team or a full-scale analyst team, right? You can start small experiment with, I'll speak from AWS's perspective. There are many services on AWS which are where you can throw in the data, let the model auto-train itself, and you get the results. And these are what your in-house developers can also try and test out. So the time required to adapt these skills and build production ready models is significantly less in today's time. And that time is getting lesser and lesser day by day. So agility, scalability are the important factors. The third point, of course, is the cost, right? If you look at it at a 35, 40-year-old legacy applications, we need to break it down into parts, right? It's not going to be a big bang migration. You need to identify what are the critical applications, what are the applications which are low-hanging fruits, and then me and my team, which is the solutions architects, right? We help you do this. We help you to identify what are the applications, what's the, let's say, inventory list of your applications, and what are right now as is compatible on cloud, and then propose to you that this is your legacy application. This is how it would look on AWS. This is the timeline that it would take to migrate, and this is the cost. When it comes to specifically the cost, right, cloud offers you the advantage of pay-as-you-go model. In data centers or in co-location, you have to make at least 3 years or at least 5 years of upfront investment, and your money is locked into that. With cloud, you literally pay by the minute, right? So if you migrate only 10% of your application, you only pay the cost for that. You don't commit upfront. You pay only for what you use. So, and this is not rocket science anymore. There is enough documentation and standard procedures to break down large server migrations, even though tens of thousands of servers, in a more strategic, in a more structured way, how we can move them, identify the applications which are critical, move them first, test it. Once the POC or proof of concept is successful, you move the rest of the application in a phase-wise manner. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, depends on the scale that we are talking about. Many times in the small and medium businesses, we are talking about few tens of servers, 20, 30 odd servers, right? Such kind of a migration is about a 2 to 3 months of effort process. So most of the time what I've seen business leaders take is to overanalyze the situation and come to a consensus and take the decision. But if you are convinced that you want to scale faster, if you are convinced that you want to really experiment, be agile, and have that competitive edge over your competitors, right, then I think you should quickly make the decision and then not think that you are alone in this journey. Reach out to VE3. We have many partners of AWS like VE3. You have my team, like solutions architects team, who can help you out with that. We are more than happy to engage with you right from day one. Not when you are a AWS customer, but way before that, way before even when you are evaluating and in the phase of seeing if cloud is the right fit for your applications. We are more than happy to work with you, break down the problem into small steps, small parts, and then take it up in a phase-wise.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Siddhesh. Truly appreciate what you just shared with us. Obviously, we will come back to you for a question probably on the Q&A part, wherein we just received a business problem from a packaging major, But before that, Krishna, since there were certain areas that you had already discussed in terms of investing for cloud startups, here's my question. As an investor, what would you suggest for the founders or company owners to keep in mind as a pitfall to avoid?
I think in different words, Sabyasachi and Siddhesh have already covered, but a few more thoughts from my side. One is to when you're trying out something, given the audience as well, is that you have to experiment. You have to start small, right? It cannot be like, okay, I'm going to move everything to the cloud. It is just going to not work out here. So you have to start small, see the benefits of it, and then do more, etc. And you also have to have very clear expectation, like what is it that I'm expecting, what is the benefit that I'm going to get it, and what is it that what resources I'm going to put against it, right? So that is one thing. That is on the investment and how do you run, right? Run the experiment. Second thing is the cloud obviously comes also with a cost. How much our capex and opex discussion we have. So you have to actually optimize it. I'll just give a very like a slightly silly example. My mobile phone storage was full when I have 16 GB of data, and now I am 128 GB capacity. It is still full with all the videos and everything, right? So just because it is there doesn't mean like you still have to optimize. And someone needs to understand like really well, like what is it that I want to keep on the cloud. Some of it may be like you can do on edge computing. You don't need to send all the data back onto the cloud and process it there, etc. So there could be instances where you don't transfer all the data to the cloud. You just do it in the edge computing because even the timing is very crucial. You cannot send it and process there, right? And the number of tools in terms of like AI, ML, SaaS, etc. There's just so many of them out there. Again, you'll have to think through like what is it that I want to adopt, and be very focused and you're trying to create a solution for yourself and your customers, right? To make a solid offering. So these are some of the things. And the last one is, again, there's also potentially somewhat complacency also, because like if like really well reputed providers are providing your cloud solution, you think that everything is safe, etc. It may be safe, but still some of the aspects like cyber security, storage, backup, etc., fallback, etc. You still have to, your technical team will have to have a solid understanding on what tools and how to retrieve stuff. You still need to have that understanding within the team before you move forward with in a more meaningful experiments. So these are the 3-4 areas that I think people need to be aware of. That's it from my side. Number one.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Krishna. Because this is exactly what what brings us to our next question to Sabyasachi is very realistically, and probably in a hard-hitting manner as well. What impact does this kind of an investment have on the bottom line, and when should a business owner should realistically expect something in return? Numbers or a timeline that you can share. A realistic view is what we are looking from you.
Any business, my business, any business, bottom line is the key. Whatever we do, whichever strategy we opt for, the entire focus is on bottom line. Some of our decisions may result in a bottom line in the short term, and some of them will result in a bottom line in the long term. So depends. A lot of these decisions that we take, sometimes for example, whether to invest in a new server or start moving. I'll give some examples from my journey, and that would probably set some context or help people relate to me, and I can obviously have a one-on-one. I'm talking about 2 years ago. We had started our journey of migration to cloud, and as Siddhesh and Krishna have already said, it doesn't happen in a big bang approach. It is always on a phased manner. So 2 years ago, we were evaluating whether to move SAP. We are on SAP S4 HANA. Whether to migrate it to the SaaS model of SAP S4 HANA, or continue with our existing. And the testing server was had to be replaced. It was a pretty old one, and we had to be replaced. So we had to take a call at that point of time whether is it the right time to migrate, or does it make sense to buy the server right now and look at the SaaS model of SAP S/4HANA to evolve. And based on a lot of these discussions with my IT team and with my SAP team, we figured out that the SaaS model of SAP S/4HANA is still not there, or still it is not matured enough to be meeting our requirements or specific. I'm talking about my company, which we the SAP, we have customized it over a period of time. So at that point of time, we went ahead and bought a server. Having said that, that was an immediate impact on the cash flows. Bottom line, obviously, because of the amortization, it gets spread out. But it had an immediate impact on the cash. Do I have a plan to move to cloud on SAP S/4HANA? Yes, of course I do have. But what was the immediate requirement? I had to take a call whether the product on cloud is mature enough to meet my business requirement. At that point of time, 3 years ago, it was not ready, or it was not there. So we took a call to move ahead and look at it. But over a period of time, we understand that we have to move to cloud. It is a journey. We are currently on the hybrid model. We have done a product to product based costing evaluation, and taken some decisions which will have benefits on a short term, and some decisions which will give me benefits on a long term. Let me say, at this point of time, almost 60% of our applications have already moved to cloud, and we have seen the bottom lines. We really appreciate it. Some of them we are still holding back. There are multiple reasons for it, depending on the volume of the transactions. We have a team which evaluates each and every software depending on the volume of the transactions that we have. What would be the estimate? They would do an estimation of the costing, how much it would cost on a day-to-day basis. Are we mature enough to do the optimization of the cost? Do we have in-house capabilities to optimize these cloud costs? That is something that we were not ready for that. So that is why probably we are still holding back to the SAP. But if you ask me where is the journey going forward, yes, in the next 5 years, we will probably be 90-95% on cloud. That is where we all have to be. That is where the organization is migrating. Just to give you an example, we used to have Microsoft Office on premise, but with the Office 365, everything has moved to cloud. Should we go ahead? Yes, absolutely. That was a no-brainer. We moved ahead, and we are saving costs on that. We are looking at there are being a company which is involved in defense. We while we want to move everything to cloud, that may not be possible because of our compliance and regulations which are mandated by the government. So it is a balance. We have to evaluate, and I repeat, we need to take the help of experts to evaluate our costs, both the operating as well as the capex, and then make a comparison. And bottom line is a byproduct.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Sabyasachi, a very, very honest journey. I am sure Siddhesh can relate to it pretty well. And I saw Krishna nodding too. I really want them to add on. I just saw Krishna nodding again. Krishna, would you want to add on to what Sabyasachi said? Because his journey was very honest, very, very honest.
I mean, I can understand and relate to what he has gone through. In fact, in the very early stage in my career as a programmer, right, I have also been trying to move some of the solutions that are completely offline, and it's very difficult to do that, to move to more online, always on, better customer experience kind of solutions that are delivered at scale worldwide, kind of a thing, right? The kind of customer experience that you can offer, the kind of always on availability, the kind of scalability, all those things, and you do it in phase wise. That he has done. I think he said that 60% they are there now, 95% later on, and specifically by solution, like how you would be migrating and what you will be evaluating. The journey is fascinating. Thank you.
So relatable that I'm sure many of our leaders who are listening to him now can easily relate. Siddhesh, I'm sure you have heard similar cases too many times.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very similar cases, very much identifiable pattern in that. And as Sabyasachi also rightly mentioned, not all workloads may be compatible with cloud.
Yeah.
But most of the workloads are, right. And the reason for that is, I'll take example of AWS, right? AWS operates, and there are multiple industry customers that put their workload on AWS, fintech, healthcare. hospitality, media, travel, right? And these customers are across the globe, like of course US, Europe, India. There are multiple compliances, GDPR, HIPAA, then ISO, right? So what AWS does is we innovate continuously to meet the requirements of these different sectors. The compliance requirement for a fintech company like a bank would be very different than what a healthcare company or healthcare hospital would need. It will be very different than what a defense company would need, right? So we continuously innovate and invest to build the tools which can help in terms of security, compliance, etc. for geography and for sector. So it's very likely that whatever application you have, there is already a solution on the cloud for that. You have to just, as Sabyasachi also mentioned, connect with expert and identify the right solution for that. So you have to be aware of what compliance you need. Krishna also very well mentioned that cloud gives you the levers, but it's still a shared responsibility. Does not mean if you are putting things on AWS means by default everything would be secure, right? It does not happen like that. It is a shared responsibility between AWS and you as a customer to know what compliance are required for your customers, for your industry, and then we as AWS can help you to get those certifications, those compliance things and things like such. We can help you achieve those. So it's always a shared responsibility. You need to evaluate, you need to plan, right? And we are more than happy to handhold you in this entire journey. But most of the workloads like websites, e-commerce websites, three-tier architectures, SAP, SaaS applications, all of these where you do not need specific compliances. Compliances are mostly around banking, fintech, healthcare, or defense, right? Yeah, there would be few more categories, but widely these are the categories. Unless you are in this sector of business, most likely it's a straightforward lift and shift migration to cloud. So have an open discussion, get these things understood by your auditors, by your consultants, by your customers, and we from AWS side are also more than happy to help you navigate these waters. These are new waters, right? You are upskilling your tech team, your dev team, your finance, everyone, right? So we are also more than happy to help you charter this new water.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Siddhesh, because this brings us to our Q&A session, which is exactly out of what you said. First is we are getting a lot of questions from the manufacturing sector to cloud migration, and the second is towards the compliance. First, the question that I would request all you three leaders to answer. This question is from a packaging major. The organization was into business for quite some time, and then they have launched a product which is towards a more responsible economy, a completely sustainable economy. To bring in that kind of a product, they have to incorporate an RFID into the packaging, which makes them incorporate an entire IoT into the system. So yes, they cannot just go big bang as you shared, but then that's exactly where the roadblock is. They have a very successful product. They have a good government backup because of that successful product, which is why they now have to move towards this entire IoT into a packaging company where they probably never thought that they would need cloud too. I mean, they are doing something which is physical. They're building something which is physical. So yes, this question is for all you three leaders. Please go ahead. Please do share. Please guide this manufacturing owner, please.
Yeah, I can take a stab at that. Okay. So, well, don't look at cloud as something different from hardware, right? And we have been using IoT devices, IoT machines for quite some time. For example, we have already swiped our credit cards in those card machines. And you have seen those wireless card machines from 15-20 years. That is also an example of an IoT product, right? What it does is you swipe the card over there, the data is relayed to a server somewhere in the data center or cloud, and the transaction goes through. So IoT is not new. The buzz is in the past 12-15 years, but the technology and the products are already in the market. So cloud is not something which is different from IoT or hardware, right? So you can build your hardware, you can build your products, and cloud is the enabler to scale for that. Now, I'll speak in the context, and of course, some more information about what you're trying to achieve would help. But in the larger spectrum, as a packaging manufacturers, you are embedding IoT RFID stickers. And RFID stickers are not only for packaging. Even if you go to supermarket and pick up products, you can see RFID tags and stickers on that, right? So when you walk out of the supermarket, if those tags are not removed, it buzzes, right? That is an example of IoT. Now, whatever is the sensor which senses that tag and buzzes, if you connect that to a cloud API, that makes your cloud solution. Then your product might be in India, the dashboard might be in US, the operating team might be sitting in US. If this sensed, or if this tag is sensed anywhere, that data can be relayed to the dashboard anywhere in the world, right? So what we see with Ola, Uber, there is a IoT product which is a GPS GSM sensor put in the car, which relays the GPS information, which goes to cloud and then comes to your mobile app. This is exactly very similar to what the company in packaging is trying to build, right? So building a solution, cloud is not discontinued from that. Cloud is not a new add-on to that. It's just a way to scale your product faster. And on AWS, there are multiple tools to support IoT. There is an entire suite of services for IoT, which will help you to get started, connect your hardware, write firmware for that hardware, get to cloud in matter of days, not even in months or years, not in months and weeks.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Siddhesh, we have too many questions, essentially in three segments. One is how to manage the budget while migrating into cloud, essentially from the manufacturing and the entire logistics segments. Second, one question that I really want to take right now, even though we are almost towards the end. Are there any specific, this question is from Mr. Rajesh Patel, are there any specific industry or regulatory compliance consideration that organizations need to be aware during cloud migration? I think Siddhesh, would you want to take it?
Yeah, I think I touched base upon that already. So it's a shared responsibility, right? So whatever are the regulatory compliances, whatever are the certifications that you as a business owner have to take responsibility of in identifying. You need to speak with your consultants. Most of the times, if you're talking about compliance, may it be ISO, may it be SOC, may it be PCI DSS, if you are dealing with credit card data, you would have a consultant to help you with compliance. If you don't have a consultant, there would be regulatory bodies like MCA and all, where you will find those compliances. You can go and search. So you will have to do the research on what compliances are required. When it comes to cloud, AWS, whatever services AWS has, may it be EC2, may it be S3, whatever are those 250, 300 plus services, the compliance, the regulatory compliance audits of those certificates are available on the documentation page. So each and every service, what compliances do they comply with? That list is available on AWS documentation. So to sum it up, you have to identify what compliances are required for your business, and then we can work with you and we can help you in achieving those with AWS services. But still, the part of getting them audited and getting that certified lies with you. Hence, it's a shared responsibility where you and AWS together, we have to work towards making sure the compliances are followed.
Thank you so much. There are more questions coming in, but if I just club few questions together, one common concern that I see in the Q&A section is how do I manage the downtime while the cloud migration process is on? Most of them are asking, I mean, even though Sabyasachi explained it in a very beautiful manner, but still as a business owner, it does come as a risk to them that yes, my business would be affected in whichever area I start migrating. What would be your suggestion? Sabyasachi, definitely to you, since you already answered it, and Siddhesh as well. Krishna, if you would want to join in, because you had already done that in the past. Sabyasachi, over to you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Managing downtime, first of all, can your business afford downtime? I don't think so. So it has to be something in parallel. We will have to work. Your business is already on. I would presume that you are already on-prem, or you are some setup you have where you are running it. So you cannot, the business cannot afford downtime. I'm sorry to say that it cannot afford downtime. It is for our IT experts or Siddhesh to advise us how do we do this migration without affecting our day-to-day business, which I'm sure it can be done, and we have done it. There would be downtimes of, let's say, 24 hours, which we can live with. Businesses can live with. I'm sure we can manage with that. And Siddhesh, please add on how to mitigate the risk of businesses going for a downtime, let's say for a week. I'm sure businesses cannot afford it. I would probably not do that.
No, Sabyasachi, I was looking forward to speak about that. The downtime that businesses experts is in minutes or maybe even seconds, not definitely weeks anymore. I mean, definitely not weeks. And very, very valid question and correct input, Sabyasachi. Businesses cannot afford downtime at all, right? Because now if the IT is down, people don't know what to do, right? To the tune that people can't even log into their VPNs and their machines and access their mails, right? So businesses cannot afford downtime, and there are different ways to avoid to not avoid that, but to reduce that. On high level, one common way, the way we do it is we migrate all the data applications and create a mirror replica of your infrastructure in cloud. So it is a duplication. It's a mirror replica. What you're doing on-prem in current setup, the exact replica is there on cloud. And then whenever we do the switchover or cutover, we just change the IP addresses or the domain addresses to the cloud map, so that all your traffic, instead of it going to your on-premises or your current infrastructure, starts going to the cloud. There, the application is up and running, the data is consistent, and you see very minimal downtime. There might be loss of few minutes of data, those 5-10 minutes till the network and IP DNS propagation happens. But that activity you can do at night whenever the user or footfall or usage of your application is low. Take a maintenance window, plan this downtime way ahead of time, let your team, everyone know that we are going to do this cutover, right? Do maybe a mock drill that we'll do a game day, or we'll do a mock drill of cutover. And once all of that is done, then only route the production traffic. There is another way of doing that. It's called as a blue-green deployment, where we do not do 100% cutover. We just start putting 10% traffic to cloud, 90% still goes to your existing system. Then slowly stagger it 10, 50, 70, 80, and then 100%. So that even if the things that the new setup does not go as per plan, all your customers are not impacted. So there are multiple strategies to do that.
Thank you so much, Siddhesh. Last question for the last 2 minutes to all you three leaders. I would start first with Krishna, because Krishna, this is entirely about how do you envision the future with this cloud technology shaping the startup ecosystem of India. And in addition to what the question has been asked, please do add the SMEs as well, SME, MSMEs as well. So what is your prediction?
Not predict the future, especially if it hasn't happened, was a quotation that has been there. It's a funny one. I think more and more the adoption has been going more and more into the cloud. As I said, most of the companies and startups that are right now, which are the leaders going forward 10 years, 20 years down the line, they have already moved onto the cloud, right? And with so many of the solutions that can be used being available on the cloud as an API, so anything new being created is based on those building blocks that are already there. They need not be the infrastructure, but they could be other solutions like a SaaS or something like that is already on the cloud, right? So I see I see total migration happening even for the existing SMEs and other providers who are right now using on-prem onto the cloud. There could always be some corner cases for specific reasons, which I don't know, like what those reasons could be. Maybe the very low reaction time or something like that. But those could be part of a solution. Some of it may be not on the cloud, but actually on the edge computing itself. But the remaining solution might still be on the cloud. So I see migration happening for all the large players and also in smaller players as more and more comfort gets built in on the technology side. So yeah, that's the prediction from my side.
Thank you so much. I really would want this discussion to go on, because there are many more questions, both important in terms of business, but then that's exactly how important this discussion is. We will definitely take all those questions to our leaders and we will get them answers offline. For now, we would have to wrap up this discussion, and thank you so much to everyone who had been attending with us for the last 1 hour. And I cannot thank my three great leaders who have really gone out of their way to share exactly the truth and the bare details, what exactly goes through in this kind of a migration. Yes, it looks great in technology magazine, but the reality is even better when it is worked out. With that, we come to a close. We give a hearty congratulations to the VE3, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.